in a sense, regulations always lag
Yeah,
the
definitely.
technology.
Yeah.
And to some extent, you rely on the ethical behavior of practitioners to move things forward in the appropriate way. I mean, the one example that comes to mind a few years ago was the one that was very well publicized about Target, and where they were sending to a home, they were sending these advertisements for baby products, diapers and so on and so forth. And then eventually they get a call from the head of the household, the father, and he says, "Why are you doing this? And why are you addressing it to my 16-year-old daughter?" And they said, "Oh, the manager comes on, apologizes, etc." And then a few days later, he calls back and apologizes to them, saying, "Well, there were some things in my household that were going on I didn't know about." But the 16-year-old lady's privacy was violated in that whole scenario. There's no question about that, right? And if you think about what was going on there were certain market forces. So Target was aggressively marketing its products, and so it was doing this. And the only way you could have stopped that, because they didn't. It's not like they broke the law. They didn't really do anything, in terms of breaking the law.
They violated her privacy in a way that hadn't been described by the law yet.
But they were making use of all data elements that they could have used legally, and they made inferences, right? So that's the key thing about data. I mean, you end up creating more data from data. So they actually created they made an inference about this, and they acted on it. But eventually, like you point out, her privacy was violated. So if you think about it from a practical standpoint, the only place that could have been stopped was by the practitioners themselves, because there were no laws against it. So you had to have essentially a level of ethical preparedness in that team that would have said, "No, I'm not going to do this. I don't know enough about this person."
There's a line that I call the creepy line.
Yes.
Right? So, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that we are more and more now able to have our devices suggest when we should be going to bed. There was a recent one where they used the data from fitness monitors to figure out who woke up during an earthquake. Right? Well, I'm not sure I wanted my data about when I went to bed and whether or not I was sleeping shared with the researchers. And then someone always says, well, it was anonymized, and I think we both know that anonymizing is a term used for slowing me down in figuring out who it talks about, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's a problem. That's a very big problem, and that's going to get way worse.